getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Sim Racers Group F3 Championship. This is round number 8 of this season, coming to you tonight from Adelaide. My name is Maunz, and alongside me working the comms and the cams is Joshua Wilkie. Well, Josh, to keep this season up rocking and rolling, we head to another Grand Prix track, albeit a former Grand Prix track, and one that didn't actually run on this layout. Adelaide's an odd one, ain't it?
Yes, it is, Ron. Sorry about that. A little bit of a technical hiccup there. It sure is. You know, I've had the pleasure of racing around here a couple times now, and I honestly really love this place, Ron. There's a lot of little pitfalls out there. There's a lot of walls to catch you. There's some curbs to be very, very aware of. T1 is a pretty interesting corner, and you really need to commit to it. There's a couple other corners very committed around here as well, so they got a lot to play for tonight, and a lot on their plate here to get through this evening clean and efficiently. So I think it's going to be a pretty interesting one and a real challenge for our F3 crew here tonight.
Yeah, certainly going to be a test of a driver's nerve and skill as we run around this racetrack and the races that we have coming up here tonight. The regular 2-race format, the sprint into the feature. I want to thank you all for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Talking about the Adelaide Street Circuit is talking about some of the most amazing stories to come out of Australian motorsports. You think about the Grand Prix history here at this circuit. You also think about the recent history with V8 supercars running on this slightly abridged layout. Sadly, the F1 layout in the specific area that it was used in no longer exists. There were some changes to the public roads that the Formula One track was on, so that can no longer come back. However, it's going to be the future home for Grand Prix motorcycle racing, of all things, which is odd on a street circuit, but you know, that's neither here nor there. But Josh, I gotta say, talking about actually driving around this track, it's a bit of a tricky feel. I'll be 100% honest and say that I have not run around this track on iRacing. However, do have a decent amount of experience running around it on Assetto Corsa, so as much as I'm not too privy to how the track grips up in iRacing and how some of these curbs are, I know the general gist around this racetrack, and you've got to be a very patient racer to try and get around here without stuffing it into the nearby walls.
Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty good way to put it, actually. Patience is definitely needed around here. Now that qualifying wrapped up here, 20 minutes, Max Lotto with a 1:13, going to be the fastest guy out there. Kalen Mikewitz just behind him, then Tyrone De Silva getting to our Heat 1 already, Ron. That seems like that went by really quick, and it's going to be a difficult one here in Heat 1, of course, flipping for Heat 2. And we will be reversing that order a bit, but let's get to our grid here and get started for tonight.
And taking a look at tonight's starting grid, Max Lotto going to start from the pole. Kayla Mikowitz going to join him on the front row. Tyrone De Silva will start in third. Joshua Corwin will make up row number 2. Danush Pagorgi and Kenan Miller will be your third row starters. Varun Bali will be in P7. Jason Green in 7th. Adrian Lopez will be in 9th, with Jose Navas Molina completing our top 10.
Yeah, and then 11th, we have Michelle Lynn from Duldime Racing. Good position here in qualifying. And then we'll have Adam Duvall in 12th place. Moving on to 13th place here, we have Jason Cotcher, then Culkerin Dillon in 14th. Stephen Case back in 15th. Thomas Brashear in 16th. And Diago Posada in 17th. So a little bit of a mix-up here tonight, Ron. This could be pretty interesting for our first heat.
Yeah, so this could get very interesting indeed. Do want to raise the fact that that is now Max Lotto's third pole position for one of these sprint races and his second in a row. Kayla Mikowitz has a pretty good track record so far this season. Championship points leader, 4-time pole sitter, multi-time, actually 4 wins in a row in the sprint races. Super quick in the feature. We'll have to see what he can do here tonight. But waiting to see just a few more cars line up on that starting grid so we can get ourselves a race start. Kenan Miller late to the party, fashionably late, we shall say. But we shall see what this first race has in store. We shall see what the first chicane has in store. This could be where things get a little bit nutty here for round number 8 of this season at Adelaide. Just waiting for a few more moments for that green flag to fly and these drivers to be sent on their way for what is going to be a cold, hard slap of reality as they head their way through the opening bends around this lap. It's going to be a tough one, and here we go. Green flag flies, and the drivers are on their way. Good start there from Michael. It's going to try and lead into turn number 1. Going to sweep around the outside and take that spot. Max Lotto slips into P2. Everybody else going side by side gingerly as they head their way through the first chicane into the Titan Twisties right now. Fantastic start, punch out, hole shot there off the line for Mikowitz.
Yeah, great start from Mikowitz there for sure. Got the launch on Lotto. Lotto now playing catch up here right off the bat. Joshua Corwin just behind him, and then you'll find Tyrone De Silva applying a little bit of pressure. Corwin's going to touch the wall here on the first lap. Got to get those tires heated up, Ron. Make sure that you can get that grip in, start to feel confident. Looks like we're getting a bit of drafting here down towards the kink. Not a place you want to try to go too wide through, but they're going to do it anyway. I believe that was Thomas Brashear and Max Lotto there pushing the limits of the track here on the first lap. Not a spot really you want to be side by side through here. You're just losing so much time. It's better, honestly, to let the driver get by and then continue. A little bit of netcode there is going to take Thomas Brashear out, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that tweaked his front suspension. Unfortunate to see that for Brashear, who was putting together a very good and solid start to this race. But sadly, any chance of the podium is going to go away for him. Nearly went away for Max Lotto as he had a bad sideways wiggle heading out of the final turn. Thought Kenan Miller would try and tackle him, but we'll have to see. He has trouble there. Multiple cars running into each other, heading out of the first chicane. Big pile up. That right there was Max Lotto, first driver who spun. Kenan Miller involved as well. Another driver spinning. That right there is Brashear. Now, pardon me, that's Adam Duvall there, wounded in that car. We talked about the damage that he had earlier on here, and that is going to catch him at dearly. Danush Paborji, Varun Bali, Jose Navas, and Tyrone De Silva, the drivers involved in that, all with meatball flags, all have had to tow back to pit lane. We were waiting for that drama to strike, but we were expecting it on lap 1 there, Josh.
Yeah, that was a big pile up there, wasn't it? I just caught the corner of my eye there as I was going for some of my controls. Kenan Miller looked like we're gonna have to go back in a replay here, but it looked like he clipped the curb and got a little bit of airtime, and someone else in sympathy with him, and then just nowhere for anybody to go, I think. It was a really hard spot there to try to get on the brakes and avoid anything, and we just had a massive pile up. So now, of course, Kalen Mikowitz going to be leading from Joshua Corrin, from Adrian Lopez, Jason Green in tow and fourth. Pretty spread out field now, other than Culkin Dillon and Kenan Miller out there. I would imagine fairly wounded cars at the moment here, but let's have a quick look here, Ron, and see if we can find out exactly what happened. We'll take a couple angles here. So Lotto first. Yeah, Lotto first, wasn't it?
Yeah, Lotto was the first to spin. Miller kind of spun off in sympathy there, just seeing the smoke in the air and, panicking there. You could see that contact there with the curb. These F3 cars, they don't like the curbs all that well. There you can see it. As soon as he hit that curb, it was game, set, match. Unfortunately for him, the other drivers piling. And actually, I think Kenan may have gone away with one just a little bit there. It's still not a good set of circumstances by any means. There you can see it was a contact with Danush Paborji, who piled into the side. I gotta say, one driver who got away with all of that and is now running in fourth, Michelle Lynn, who, she's been the filled-in snake pit at the Philadelphia Zoo when it comes to luck so far this season. Has not had a pit to hiss in, but she has had a fantastic run so far. Now running in fifth, as look at Kenan Miller, got a fantastic move done there on the back end of the track, fighting for no space out there on the racetrack on Diego Posada, and makes it work either way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little shocked here that Kenan Miller's car is still clean after that incident there, so really good avoidance for him, and then turning the screws here as well right away in the 18 and getting a pass done. So good for Kenan out there. He's going to smoke the tires here going into the final corner. Going to take a breath or two there, see if he can hold on to that position and keep going. Stephen Case behind him, though, not going to make easy work of that one. Now seeing, I believe, not sure who that is coming out of the pit, but somebody trundling their way out of the pit lane here. Wow, a lot of attrition here on our second lap, Ron. And like you said, maybe you're expecting that more sort of a first lap incident, perhaps, because it's just, the first lap is so contentious around here, and your tires are not quite up to temperature yet. But honestly, after looking at Kenan Miller on the onboard there, I think he was probably headed off there anyway. I'm not really sure that had much to do with who was in front of him. Perhaps he did get a little bit unsighted there, a little target fixed on what was happening and missed his line. But either way, that took a lot of that curb and bit of a calamity into that one. Able to come out of it, though, critically, with not a lot of damage now. Stephen Case going to look up the inside. Fairly easy spot to get it done here. Pretty formulaic stuff there from Stephen Case on Kenan Miller.
Yeah, and it should be noted that Stephen Case actually had to start this race down in pit lane. He was mandated to do that. Should be noted, if anyone does feel bad about the other moment that Thomas Brashear had, he was actually meant to start this race from pit lane as well. I don't remember seeing him do that, but again, my memory can be a little bit hazy when it comes to moments like that. But either way, Stephen Case putting on a very good drive, making his way up to 7th. However, when it comes to Kayla Mikowitz holding on to the race lead, one that will grow because Joshua Corrin is currently serving off a slowdown penalty that will likely tick over 4 seconds. And we've talked about the dominance that Kayla Mikowitz has shown so far here this season between the poles into these sprint races, in which he's been able to grab 4, between the sprint races themselves, where he's grabbed 5 so far this season, including the last 4 in a row, or whether it be the feature races where he's grabbed 3, Mikowitz has been, just on his A game throughout this season. And even in some of those setbacks where he's had to start down in P6 for the feature, he's been able to make it work either way. Multiple times throughout this season, he has grabbed both the sprint race win and the feature race victory, including 2 occasions, notably at the Red Bull Ring and the Hungaro Ring, where he swept the board between poles and both the win in the sprint and the feature.
Yeah, just amazing. Thanks for those stats there, Ron. Pretty cool stuff here for Keon Majkowicz, scraping every wall on his way through. That actually looked, again, a little bit like perhaps kind of a buggy netcode thing going on there in the wall. But, you know, critically again here, we have, like you're saying, Stephen Case now fighting actually a little bit with Kenan Miller. Actually, maybe he fell down. He is. He's actually sideways in the wall here, missing the front and the rear of his machine. I was just about to give him some props for, again, making it through this field in the way that he's able to do it. Such a good driver out there, but I mean, we're going to have to go back and see what happened here, Ron, but he's definitely missing some pieces of that F3 car.
And he is towed back to pit lane. It is game, set, match for Stephen Case. And it's again the curb heading through turn number 2. Josh, I'll be honest, if that curb kills any more drivers, I think it will unlock a UAV.
Yeah, he's definitely got a kill count on the side of his canopy there for sure. That corner, you might have to put a little face or maybe some little hash marks there on the side of how many drivers it's taking out here. But man, if it can get the likes of Stephen Case, it can definitely get anybody. And I mentioned it, you know, in the run-up, that's going to be a hard spot there. You kind of push it and push it and push it, and you know, it's almost like trying to get through a turnstile or something like that. There's not very much room, and I don't know about you, Ron, but when I see kind of a gap like that, and it's kind of a shrinking gap, or it feels like it, I want to get through it as quickly as possible, and I kind of push myself to do it, and maybe that's what happened to Stephen Case there, is he's just trying to extract that last little bit out of it, because it really does feel good when you get it right, and I think maybe he just kind of a little bit over that curb more than he would have expected, and it unsettled the car. So those 3 pretty much identical incidents there, taking out some of our best drivers here today.
And what has happened here with Josh Corwin, the gap that was about 4 seconds has now ballooned to 11. You can see some obvious front wing damage, and he has a meatball flag.
Ooh.
That's what happened. That's exactly what the deal was. That was heading off of the streets onto the permanent section here at Adelaide, one of the first ever street circuits to kind of feature a hybrid construction of both a permanent circuit and a temporary street track. And unfortunately there, Corwin tagging that outside wall, which sticks out like a sore thumb for racers. It doesn't matter what kind of car they're running in, whether it be a Formula car or even a Renault Clio that I've gone to cover here around this track. It is absolutely brutal. Multiple other drivers picking up meatball flags throughout this race, latest amongst them, of course, being Josh Corwin and Jose Navas, who's run into trouble. Here's what happened to him in the 4 car. Yeah,
I'm showing an off track here, so perhaps, oh wow, yep, that was definitely an off track, wasn't it? I'm not exactly sure what went on there, but he's definitely missing some parts of that wagon now. You bring her back to the pit, see what he can do before the end of this one here. Unfortunate, that beautiful paint job getting so messed up there. We'll have a look here as well. Diego Posada in the 44 having some issues here too, and he's going to lock him up really hard there going into that corner. I think maybe just misjudged her a little bit, doing a bit of a panic stop there to get it woed up, but yeah, we're pretty spread out around the field. Keon Majkowicz now 16 seconds ahead of Adrian Lopez. Then you're going to find Jason Green in 3rd, always marching around Jason Green, able to get those results regardless of his pace out there. And he's going to pick up another podium here by the looks of it in Heat 1 just by staying clean and by keeping his nose clean out there.
You know, of all the races for us to say the old racing adage, to finish first you have to finish, we've already seen that here tonight. The drivers who have kept their noses the cleanest are the ones right now holding on to some of the best spots. Jason Green, we know that he is a very competitive driver, but we know that he's a very clean racer as well, holding on to P3 as it stands right now. I talked about this a little bit earlier on. My fellow Philly native, Philly represent, Michelle Lynn in the 215 car. A little bit of damage on the front end of that race car. You can see some scuffs there on the other front of the chassis. Now, should note that these Dallara F3 cars, notable for 2 things. Great racing action has kind of been tossed a bit to the side. They're a little bit soft at times. They're very prone to damage like that, and also the netcode has been a bit of a common occurrence as Michelle actually going to tag the wall, heading out at the kink. That could spell disaster for her, holding on to that P4 spot, as that's Max Lotto getting the move done there. I believe, however, I'm actually going to retract that statement. Lotto, we did see him run into trouble a little bit earlier on in the race. He is not currently battling with Michelle for position, so Michelle still going to hold on to P4 as it stands for now. Just wants to try and bring this one home. She has had some torrid luck throughout this season, finally looking to put together a good result.
Oh, that's Cotcher and Dillon losing it. Thomas Brashear getting by him on the replay there, so I was just wondering what went on there, and I guess we figured that out. So that's going to be a pass for Brashear, and unfortunately Cotcher and Dillon is going to find the wall there. Joshua Corwin as well getting by Jason Cotcher here on this replay, and I think unfortunately it's going to be because Cotcher made a mistake by the looks of it, so he's going to kind of pull off to the side there, let Corwin through, being the gentleman that he is there, and pulling behind him, see if he can't make that time back up. But yeah, Michelle Lynn out there getting a great result here today in 4th place, driving around that dull dime machine. Great to see her with some better luck here for sure. We know she is a very good driver, very consistent, always out there getting it done. But like you said, it was basically just almost like there was just what would you call it, an anvil magnet? I don't know what it would be. Maybe I'm not exactly sure, but it was definitely not good for her for the beginning part of this season here. But it looks like things are turning around a little bit, and she's able to get a good result here in Heat 1 with only a few minutes left.
Yeah, I do feel bad for Michelle, because that whatever falling anvil magnet I put on her race car, it was stuck on about as hard as a Philly pretzel that's been left out of the bag for a couple of days. That's a very, very niche reference. There's not a lot of people that'll get that for sure. But here up in the front, Kayla Michowitz has just checked out. 20 seconds is the gap here currently, which is insane. Hasn't had too much pressure because every driver who's been around him has had some sort of unfortunate series of circumstances go on. We saw Max Lotto with the moment heading out of the first chicane. We saw Stephen Case, one of his main championship rivals, run into issues earlier on here. So it's just been, I wouldn't say formulaic for Kayla Michowitz, but at this point, all he needs to finish off this race is the bodily temperature roughly in the 90s, and he will capture a stunning 5th sprint race victory in a row. That will be his 6th so far this season. Insanity.
Yeah, he's really doing a good job out there. Consistency again, Stephen Case, very, very fast driver. Of course, our last season's champion is why I mention it. Very fast driver. Just not been able to kind of put together some races this year. Not always because of his own fault either. There have been some other pitfalls out there. It's what happens. Sometimes I know it very well. So, I've had speed, and then you just can't seem to get, the right result in qualifying. It puts you a little bit back in the field maybe, and then you're in a knife fight and you can't get out of it and you get some damage. And, if that happens 2 or 3 times, it can really start to kind of sink in a little bit, and it's hard to get back in the car and get a good result. It's almost like when you're up front, it kind of spawns more up front running, and when you're in the middle, it sort of keeps you in the middle. It's hard to get back up front a little bit, and you can kind of lose that pace and lose that eye in on those drivers up there, or simply just be around drivers you're not usually around, and they kind of don't know how to drive you. You don't know how to drive them, and you can get into a bunch of incidents, and I think that's kind of what we've seen this season with Stephen Case, now back in 13th place, trying to get as many points as he can out of this one. Kayla Michowitz going to come home with the full load of points once again, so his championship season's looking real good, Ron. And unfortunately, Stephen Case is going to get a lap driver here getting out of the way. Doing a really good job of getting out of the way there for sure. Almost lost it, unfortunately, but very respectful driving here in the SRG F3 series. One thing we should mention too, we can't put these on without sponsors like Dillon Motorsports. We got to thank him here at SMB and SRG F3 for helping us out with this. You can see that logo up there. Perhaps we'll get a little ad read there later on during the warm-up, but thank you so much for that. And obviously we love putting these things on. Can't do it without you, man.
Yeah, so we'll talk about Dylan Motorsports and Tire here in a few moments' time. In the meantime, we see Kalen Michaelitz head his way into the final half of the lap for the last time here in this sprint race. What a run it has been so far for this driver behind the wheel of the 76 machine. A Sim Racers Group veteran, one of the first drivers to get elevated up into the old Inter-Alien category after Stephen Case was kind of the originator of that. So it feels fitting that he could very well become the only other champion outside of Stephen Case in the history of this series. Michaelitz going to do himself a lot of favors here with this sprint race win at Adelaide. He captures this, and now we still wait to see the fight between Adrian Lopez and Jason Green for the final podium spots. Lopez heads his way through the turn there in the 007 car. He was shaken but not stirred in the fight with himself and Jason Green, and he captures P2. JG2 going to finish there in third, and Michelle Lynn going to come across the stripe here in a few moments time to finish in fourth. What a drive for her. Do want to mention Kenan Miller. Fantastic fight back there from Kenan after the incident he had heading out of that first chicane. To be able to bounce back and get a P5 result out of it all is very impressive indeed. Josh Corwin, Jason Cotcher, series admin, will be in P7. Last car to come across the stripe, actually last two cars, pardon me, will be Kukaran Dillon, who's heading his way off through into the permanent section right now, and then Stephen Case, who will come across the stripe here in a few moments time himself. Unfortunate there for Stephen. Going to finish in lucky spot P13, which I think really summarizes the way his season has gone so far in the 8 rounds. Only 4 seasons of Sim Racers Group F3 action leading into this campaign. Stephen Case taking all the championships heading into this. May not be the case here in the 5th and final season of the Sim Racers Group Formula 3 Championship. Of course, the news came out a couple of weeks ago that we'll be switching over to the Indy Next car. And I did mention this at the tail end of the F4 broadcast yesterday here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. I want to mention it again. A massive shout out to many of the drivers that you see out here on the racetrack. Jason Cotcher, Tyler Hagan, and the entire folks over at Sim Racers Group for putting on an Indy Next test session just so we could get our graphics up and looking fantastic. However, these fantastic pictures here on Slow Motion Broadcasting this season of the F3 Championship has been brought to you by Dylan Motorsports and Tire. As a top-rated and award-winning service center, Dylan Motorsports knows that auto service isn't just about the present, it's about the future as well. From star certifications to simple maintenance, you'll be covered with some of the friendly service in the Bay Area with a focus on customer satisfaction. Dylan Motorsports and Tire, serving San Jose, Santa Clara, Willow Glen, and beyond. We want to thank Kukaran Dillon and Dylan Motorsports and Tire for sponsoring this season of Sim Racers Group F3 action. And now, Josh, we can look ahead into the race that we have in store. The feature 10 minutes longer, completely different dynamic. But I wonder, Josh, if you want to take a quick little gander at the championship points as we head our way off into round number 8, because shocking to say this, we'll only have 3 more races left to go once we're done with tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't believe the season is flying by that quickly. We'll rack him back up here to number 1. Kalen Michaelitz in the 76, 539 points on his charge with this dominant season here so far in the Monster Energy machine. Doing just great up there. Good stuff for Kalen Michaelitz in first. Stephen Case finding all kinds of pitfalls this year, but still able to claw 430 points away. He's going to be in second place. Jason Green just behind him with 429, all to play for up at the top of the field there. Skylar Vickeroy also not far behind, definitely in the championship run here for a podium with 320 points in fourth place. Terry Crouch putting on an excellent show this season so far. Made some awesome passes out there. Really fun to watch. 320 points. That is the captain and the grandpa has 320 points there in fifth. Adrian Lopez you will find in sixth in the Magnets, 295 points. Max Sonalato in seventh, 277 points. Joshua Corwin will also be in eighth place with 267. Kenan Miller in ninth, 258. And then you'll find Jason Cotcher, also the captain and the grandpa, obviously the team together there, 243. We'll let you look through the rest of those results there. But, you know, I'm seeing here just by looking at it, Kalen Mikowitz up front, we got some drivers maybe that would usually be in the top 10 that are kind of down below the top 10. So it has been a bit of a season of attrition here in the F3 for sure. And I'm going to not chalk that up to, you know, people being too rowdy or anything, but just that, honestly, they're getting faster out there. People are kind of finding their niche and, you know, learning certain tracks. And I think that's what we're seeing here in that mix up with points, Ron.
Yeah, it is cool to see either way, though. Again, the opportunity to see newer drivers, different drivers rise to acclaim here in this championship. Taking a look at those team points, you can see Monster Energy holding on to the top. 741 points is the tally. Skyken Milroy running with just one car. Kenna Miller out there on the racetrack here tonight. Skylar Vickroy is not. They're in P2 with Doldime Racing, the Weekend Warriors duo of Jason Green and Michelle Lynn there in third, with Team Casada in fourth, the captain and the grandpa in P5, the Magnets in sixth, CT Eggshear, which always sounds like a super villain's name from like a comic back in the
really
late
does.
90s, but that's just me. MM Motorsports is in P number 8 with Team SJ Local in ninth. Adu Velasco. I don't know why I always want to do that in a French accent, but I do either way. They are in P10 with the Art Merchants and Absent Grandpas completing your 12 teams classified. So that's how it looks in the championship points as we head our way off into round number 8. I want to thank you all for tuning into the action on Slow Motion Broadcasting here this evening. If anyone, by the way, is tuning into this broadcast and wondering why I'm in a slightly more hushed tone than usual, long-term sleep deprivation will do that. The Philadelphia Phillies sending out Jose Alvarado to try and close out a game in extra innings will do that as well. They better not lose against the Nationals, I swear to God. And also the fact that my roommate is asleep in the room a few doors down, and she has to get up at about 4 o'clock in the morning. So I do not want to disrupt her, because I would quite like to be able to live. Thank you very much. So, checkered flag is now out here in the warm-up session. We'll be heading off into the feature race here in a few moments' time. And speaking of, we'll take a look at your starting grid. Top 6, whoop, they're getting flipped. A little bit of a J.R. Gregory reference there. Josh Corwin is going to start from the pole position. Kenna Miller going to join him on the front row. Michelle Lynn will be in P3. Jason Green is in 4th. Adrian Lopez in P5. Kayla Mikowitz in 6th. Jason Cotcher 7th. Cooper on Dillon in P8. Adam Duvall in 9th. And Thomas Brashear completing your top 10.
And then Max Linlotto in 11th, Varun Bali in 12th. 13th place, you'll find Stephen Case, Diago Posada in 14th. 15th, Jose Navas Molina, Danush Paborji in 16th. And 17th will be Tyrone Da Silva rounding out the field. And boy, oh boy, Ron, we definitely have a bit of a feature race lined up here. There are some people out of position. This is not an easy place to pass. Let's get it.
Yeah, let's have some fun. This is going to be a hoot. I want to thank you all once more for tuning into the action. You know what? I'm going to call my shot. I don't have a good feeling about this first chicane. We got away with it in the sprint. Let's see how it goes in the feature as a green flag flies and the drivers are underway.
Oh, boy.
Miller with some small little jumps there. That was Mikowitz with some small little bunny hops as he headed his way through that section. Everybody keeps it smooth as they head their way now onto the streets, building the speeds, building the tension, trying to get some moves, small little lockups throughout the pack, some smoke rising throughout the field. We're not electing a pope. We're trying to get some spots here in the early stages, riding on board with Max Linlotto, who did not have a dream start there in the sprint and ran into trouble very early on. Looking to have a better run here in the main event. As you look farther up the road, it has been a dream start for Josh Corwin. He is still your race leader as we build the speeds on the backstretch.
Yeah, great start here for Josh Corwin under pressure from Jason Green. Then you'll find Ken and Miller. That was a real close one for our leader there, Kalen Mikowitz. He really put in the work there to not lose that car and avoided. And Joshua Corwin's going to take the front of that car off. Does look like perhaps he might have got away with that because of the tire barrier. I'm not sure. That was a pretty odd little moment there for sure, but it looks like perhaps he got away with it. With honestly, I'm pretty happy about that. Hopefully his car is not destroyed from that and he can continue on, but that is going to slow him down. Linlotto on the number 9 in the background there, losing it. You can tell because Ron made a noise like he likes to say there, like he sat on a cold toilet seat, and that was definitely Lynn Lotto almost losing it there, Ron. Close one. Bit of a frenetic first lap.
Yeah, man, it's like I just felt a spider crawl around my face. That was very uncomfortable just for Max Lotto's sake as he headed his way out of the turn. It has not been a smooth start for many as Coco Rondil and Jose Navas both with meatball flags. Diego Posada with the black flag here. That had to have been for some kind of jump start. You cannot hit the incident point violation in one lap. Well, you can, but you would have to be a professional torpedo. Someone call up Daniel Confiat. Let's ride on board here. A little bit of rolling there. We'll pretend that we did not see a thing, as here it was heading down into the first chicane. This one, things got really tense. That right there was Galen Michaelitz having to run a hop, skip, and a jump as he headed his way through that first chicane. Those curbs, I mean, curbs and Formula 3 cars do not go well together, point blank, period. It's like escargot and peanut butter, just not very scrumptious. But especially on lap 1 when the cars are packed in like sardines, that's when it really gets iffy. And speaking of iffy, that's going to be a lap car trying to come out of the pits there. The pit exit here, I got to say, is a fate worse than death. Is synchronized spinning and synchronized crashing. Once again, Stephen Case, this time with Bali.
Yep, that was definitely synchronized there. That is a 10 out of 10 from the judges on both of them, or perhaps a minus 10 out of 10 for both of them there. That curb, that first corner, Ron, we mentioned it in the run-up, just how difficult it is and how much you want to push it into that corner. And again, it looks like damage is off today, Ron. I'm seeing their parts come back on their car. So usually this is not the case in the F3 League, but able to pop the wing back on here and keep going. So this second session looks like damage is off. They're going to get away with some incidents here in this one. Pretty interesting stuff.
Nah, it's still certainly on. The drivers wouldn't be picking up meatball flags if that was the case. I'm sure these drivers would certainly be wishing it, and I gotta say, Stephen Case definitely got away with one. iRacing can sometimes be a little bit iffy when it comes to allocating damage, especially on some of these older cars. We've seen some iffy stuff throughout the season. There you can see Bali.
You know what? He didn't really hit much of anything, did he? He really got lucky there, I think, Ron. You're right. His wing just slid by that steel grate, and I think maybe he missed it. Yeah, the other driver getting most of that one.
I gotta say, that was a pretty bad hit there into the rear suspension, so I'm shocked that he got away with that either way.
Yep.
But as brake rotors glow on the drivers heading their way off through some of the hard braking zones, we jump to this fight. This is Max Lotto and Adrian Lopez. Lopez finished on the podium there in the first race of the night, finished second for crying out loud. I think that he's looking for a little bit more here. Currently running in P6. Max Lotto, I think he's been less battling his competitors and more battling this racetrack, which can't necessarily fault him for. It is a real tough ride. As you can see, Caleb Michaelitz kind of moved on there on Kenan Miller. That's into the back end of the racetrack.
Yeah, that's going to be a move he needs to make here to maximize those points. See how he gets it done here. He looked out the outside a little bit, then to the inside, and again into one of the sharper corners on the course here. It's going to be fairly easy one to get done there around Kenan Miller. Kenan Miller's going to not turn the screws too hard on that one, file in behind, and then I would imagine try to keep up with him there and see if he can't drag him to a better position maybe by the end of this one. Maybe keep Jason Green off of him. And I will correct myself there. Definitely damage is on in this. You're right, Ron. Diego Posada in the pit with a meatball. That must, again, just be a bit of a bug here on the damage model. In this particular car, does some kind of strange things every once in a while, but we'll move past that. He is still running out there critically, and that is the important thing here. Joshua Corwin got away with that one, still leading the race too, so I can easily count on one hand how many times that's happened to me.
Things are strange when you're a stranger. There may be some people who get that reference right there. Looking at this fight, though, here for the race lead, Josh Corwin and Kayla Michaelitz. This is going to be a titanic fight, and Michaelitz looking for a real good run here in this race, trying to get the double race win for, I believe this would be the fourth time this season, grabbing the sprint and the feature in the same night. Certainly has a real good shot to do it, laying on the pressure as we head our way through the back end of the racetrack. Michaelitz, we ride on board with him, riding under the nose, ground level as we head our way through these thunderous Southern Australian streets. It is loud, it is noisy, it is thrilling, enthralling. Every single phrase you want to try and use, you could probably find in a fortune cookie or certainly in an advertising textbook. Michaelwitz, though, still trying to look for it. You can see that gap actually growing a little bit. Michaelwitz, this is an odd position for him to be in because throughout the entirety of that sprint race, he wasn't up towards the front of the he was up towards the front of the field, but didn't have anybody in front of him as dirty air. This is where things got a little bit sketchy. It not only throws off your balance with the aerodynamics, it also throws off where you're trying to go at there on the racetrack. Very tricky to nail down your braking zones, nail down your turn-in points. However, Michaelwitz gonna try and go for it. Nearly no, he does not. Michaelwitz remains in P2. Corwin putting on a good defense for now, but Michaelwitz having the confidence of a comfortable championship points lead to say, you know what? I'm going to sit back here and basically be like a cat looking at a mouse, playing with the mouse before he eats it.
Yeah, absolutely. He is kind of biding his time there, isn't he, Ron? I think Corwin not too worried about it, I wouldn't imagine either. I don't think he's going to put up too much of a defense here with this much time left in the race. It would only drive them backwards here, but just another shot here of Brashear actually making it past De Silva. De Silva now putting pressure on Brashear, try to get that one back, but we'll keep an eye on that one as well. It's going to be our second closest battle pretty much on the field here. Jason Green also under pressure from Max Limoado in the number 9. Able to kind of get some speed out of it here. You can see our sector times down there are a little bit of green, a little bit of red, so everybody's kind of fluctuating a bit, and I would imagine that's kind of just getting used to this track and getting kind of acclimated to around here too. I've done a race or two around here, and it's not easy to be consistent for sure. You're definitely kind of brute forcing a few spots on this track to make sure things work. And here we are up front, the 76 now of Kalen Michaelwitz. Going to look around the outside, bit of an intimidation move there on the 37. Not going to ask for it quite yet here, but I would imagine it's coming soon, Ron. And he's got to make this one work. He's got to make it clean. You really don't want, after all of this upward momentum, to mess anything up here. So Joshua Corwin leading this one here. Kalen Michaelwitz just behind him. And then you'll find Kenan Miller in third place, still holding on to it. Looks like he's got a real shot at a podium tonight.
I gotta say, I want to give some love to our old SMB colleague, Mr. Kenan Miller. He's been able to put together a strong night here. Was good in the sprint race, certainly running very good here in the feature. On track for a podium if things remain this way. But so a long way left to go here tonight, so got to keep an eye on that as we go throughout the rest of this event. There was never an instance in which the Jaguar paint scheme that Kenan Miller is rocking here ran at Adelaide. However, it's still seeming like a match made in heaven as it stands right now. A little bit of smoke in the air as things are getting very tense in that fight between Josh Corwin and Michaelwitz. Michaelwitz's patience has snapped as he's going to try and go for a move heading off into the kink. That's some bold stuff, and he's going to make it work there. Playing ball is Corwin, not going to try and fight that much through there. Thought about catching the draft and trying to catch a train back to the front of the field with a dive bomb into the hairpin, but not going to go for it. Michaelwitz, now your race leader, gets it done about 9 minutes into this race. So he led for about 15 minutes in the sprint race. Looks like he's set to do the same here in the feature.
Yeah, and through the kinks, pretty mega there for sure. Joshua Corwin not putting up too much of a fight there. Smart thing to do for sure. You turn the screws through that section too hard, and it could be a massive, massive crash there. But Kalen Michaelwitz now already pulling away a little bit here from the rest of the pack, so definitely has that pace tonight. We're watching Kenan Miller on board there as well. Looks like he's really got a good eye in around here as well, using those curbs really well. Not an easy thing to do, especially in these cars, Ron. You got to be really kind of tiptoey on the pedals and on the controls as well. Maybe fingertips versus biceps there for sure around this track at moments. And then, you know, there are going to be those moments when you really got to grip the wheel and lay it down as well. So good on Kenan Miller here tonight for that third place in the 18. If he can keep underneath that wing of Joshua Corwin, he might just have a chance here to stay away from Jason Green, about 2.4 seconds behind him. Then you'll find Adrian Lopez, and then you will find Michelle Lynn as well, doing great here in a 7th place tonight. Closest battle on the field here is going to be actually between the 23 of Danush Paborji and Michelle Lynn in the 215, holding him off. Looks like he's going to try it up the inside here on our sort of formulaic pass corner, and he's going to get that one done. Michelle Lynn making sure he clears the nose of her car there and keeping it clean. Going to tuck in behind the wing and see if she can't find some pace there behind him as well, doing a great job holding it together tonight and out of trouble critically there. Jason Cotcher just behind them in 9th, about 3 seconds, and then you'll find Tyrone Da Silva in a little bit of a battle here still with, I believe that is going to be Cotcher actually in front of him. So Cotcher and Tyrone Da Silva here looking for a bit of a battle. Yeah, almost halfway through this one.
Yes, there's still enough time to try and squabble up. I'm sure these drivers will be squabbling quite a lot as we get into the closing stages. In the meantime, though, these drivers, I wouldn't say are fully settled down, but definitely trying to whittle the laps away. You know, 25 minutes here at Adelaide. That is 25 minutes of constantly sweating something. You are having to think about every single turn out here on the racetrack. Yes, that's usually the case for 98% of street circuits. As Jolyon Palmer once said before he crashed it at Baku one time, you have to be alert on a street circuit. You certainly have to here at Adelaide, even on this slightly abridged version than Formula One race stats. You've got to figure out when you go for the moves, when you try and go for them right. Unfortunately there, Tyrone Da Silva thought he had the right time, didn't have the right technique, overshot it, ran off into the runoff area, and actually nearly went perfectly around the roundabout there, painted onto the runoff area.
He's following the road rules out there. Hey, if you're going to go off track, you might as well pick up some extra brownie points there and follow those rules. But Jason Cotcher now, critically here, is going to get a little bit ahead of him now. He's got a bit of work to do to catch back up to that rear wing of Jason Cotcher. So again, you know, that consistency out there really mattering here around Adelaide. You don't want to overstep around here. A little overstep can either mean A, the end of your race, or like we just saw there, B, going around the roundabout a little bit, and that's always going to be slow. Actually did a pretty good, efficient job of doing it there, Tyrone Da Silva did, not losing much time, still has a chance perhaps here to catch back up to Jason Cotcher. But as you can see on our timing tower here on the left, not a whole lot of red or yellow numbers there, so we're pretty spread out, and that's I think going to be a little indicative of a track or a course like this, Ron, that is a bit of a specialty course. It's fairly new to the service. These cars are difficult to drive around it, and I think that's showing here in our drivers tonight, spreading out a little bit.
Yeah, so at the moment, the field a little bit pulled apart from one another. We've still got that fight that could intensify between Josh Corwin and Max Lotto. That is the battle for P2 and P3 on the road right now, about 0.6 of a second between those racers. Kenan Miller was running in that podium spot, but Max Lotto, I think, has finally found his footing here in this race. You know, speaking of Max Lotto, very good driver. First got the opportunity to cover him on the production side of things for the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Championship a couple of seasons ago. Know that he is a very strong racer. He's taken to this community very, very well. He's still a driver, though, that's looking to refine some of those edges. So having a night like this where you can see him finally put everything together is definitely a good sign as he goes for the dive there on Josh Corwin and going to make that move work even with a sideways snap on the outside exit curb. That's P2 now for Lynn Lotto in the 9.
Yeah, I would imagine his foot flicked off the gas pretty hard there on that little wiggle. You get the power down on the wrong orientation off a curb, and it will spit you out around here for sure. But these drivers knowing that very well, being easy on their pedals and on their controls when it matters, and gripping them tight when it matters as well. Max Lotto now up to second place. Joshua Corwin in third, holding on to that podium position still. Kenan Miller back there, gonna try to hunt him down here. He's got enough time to do it. We'll see if he's got the pace to do it, though, is going to be the other question. Of course, Kalen Majkowicz out front here, slowly stretching that lead away from the rest of the pack here. Definitely seems to have the pace here tonight and the consistency to get it done over the 25 minutes. And you know, I'm seeing these cars getting close to the wall there. It's like they have flint strikers on the side of their wheels or something like that. As sparks flying everywhere. I'd be afraid you're going to start a bushfire or something out here with these cars scraping against the wall so close. Pretty interesting stuff. Don't see that very often around here either. I know when we took the Mustang out here a little while ago, even just the slightest tap of a wall meant a bent steering rod or a bent trailing arm in the rear, and it would wreck the car. And the 9 actually gonna scrape the wall there with both tires, taking the Goodyear rubber off the side of that, or perhaps I'm not sure what rubber's on the side of these ones actually, but probably took the paint off the side of that one, Ron. That's about as close as you want to get, or you're going to get away with.
Yeah, no, you are dancing with the devil at every single moment here on the
Oh,
racetrack.
boy.
As once again, my goodness, Lotto going to
Wowzers.
pick up a slowdown there. He keeps it out of the wall, but does not keep his car away from the eye of race control. Of course, iRacing divvying out those slowdown penalties. That's going to catch him out dearly there, as he's still going to run in second, but that gap may fluctuate once more. Here's a move from Tyrone De Silva on Jason Cotcher. That's heading off into the hairpin. Gets it done there in the 480 car. Yeah, I was just going to bring up, as I think we have seen, there we go, De Silva starting to pull away once more. 3-car pack with De Silva, Cotcher, and Michelle Lynn, lead car of that little train.
Ooh, we have some incidents.
You know, when you brought up the other thing, Josh, about some of the drivers having like steel wool on the side of their race cars, which explains the sparks. It reminded me of one of my least favorite childhood memories. I was going into Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey as a kid. This was one of my first times going there. I was super excited. That was a place that had King Dakar. He had a massive, really tall, really fast roller coaster. I didn't ride on it until far later on, but I was excited to go there. As you can see, Michelle Lynn once again got caught out by that weird glitchy wall there on the outside. I thought her wheel briefly popped off the car. Nope, she's fine. She's still good to go. As we were going through the metal detectors, I was actually getting into the amusement park. My dad tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Oh, bud, we can't go in. You've got a metal plate in your head." He told me I had a metal plate in my head right before we went in there. It's all a fib. It's all a complete lie. He just did that to try and get a rise out of me. And despite the fact that this happened a matter of about 13 years ago, it has not escaped my memory and probably will not for the next 13 years. I'm still going to be complaining about this by the time I'm 34.
I've heard a lot of excuses, but that's not one I've heard for sure. I personally love roller coasters. I used to have a season's pass, truth be known, to Canada's Wonderland out here. If you've ever been to Canada, that's our big amusement park, all wrapped around a giant mountain in the middle, and there's some pretty darn cool roller coasters there for sure. I used to go all the time. Saw all kinds of live shows there and everything, but don't think my dad ever told me I couldn't go on a ride because I had a metal plate in my head. But that is your dad is a character. He is a funny guy. You guys are a great team there, and just good stuff. Love to hear those stories every once in a while, for sure, of those shenanigans. But up here front, Kalen Mikowitz still holding on, but a second ahead from the last time I was speaking about him here. He's pulled about another second on Max and Lotto, so still heading out front there, still piloting away, nice and confident in the lead. Of course, only about 5 minutes left now. It can all still happen out here. That first corner is a doozy, but I think maybe he's got his number. Jason Cotcher now chasing down Michelle Lynn in 9th, trying to hold on to that top 10 position here. And look at all that flint coming off the side of these things, eh? I mean, it makes the drivers look really good. Like, they're just getting as close as they possibly can on absolutely every corner there. You would have a few millimeters or a few inches worn down on the side of those cars by now, I would think, but 422 probably going to have a chance here at the 215 in short order. And a little bit of weight reduction there for sure, Ron. Take a few grams off maybe at the end, and you might not make spec after that, though, so you got to be careful. Well, a little inside-outside.
Ooh, yeah, a little swapperoo there, heading down the back straight away. Jason Cotcher swapping sides like it's flipping burgers. Actually, I'm going to I'm going to say, but I will say Jason was gracious in giving me a suggestion of a line that I should use in a in the opening laps of a race here in the not too distant future. Stay tuned throughout the rest of the season. If that doesn't give you a reason to subscribe, folks, I really don't know what does. It was a good one from Captain Cotcher, so that will potentially be unearthed a little bit later on the season. See, what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of the sayings and weird similes and stuff that come out of my mouth, I don't have a lot of them written down. Yes, I do say a lot of the same stuff, but when you do like 10 shows a week, you do end up repeating yourself from time to time. However, you could tell
at times like this that I hit my head a lot as a child when I start talking about falling anvils, declawed cats, everything of the sorts. My dad taught me when we were doing math homework one time, always relate to stuff in your life. So I guess I'm an expert when it comes to falling anvils, I suppose. Jason Cotcher going for the dive on Michelle Lynn, heading off into the hairpin, going to get that move done. That is P9 for Cotcher, back down to 10th there for Michelle Lynn. So a good performance there for Michelle, able to keep her nose relatively clean in a race where just seeing the checkered flag, frankly, Josh, has been an achievement in and of itself.
Yeah, that's can't be understated there at all, Ron. If our viewers out there watching never taken a lap around this track, it really doesn't matter what machinery you're in, it's going to be difficult, but the F3 car being one of the more difficult ones to do 25 minutes around here. Not easy to keep it out of the wall at all. So everybody finishing today and you know, in the top 10 or even below there, getting a finish today and not ending up in the wall is definitely an achievement. And for those who did end up in the wall, it can happen, man. It's happened to the best drivers out here a couple times today. It will continue to happen around Adelaide. This is not an easy track. It is not an easy prospect around here for sure. So lots of practice, and even then, those curbs can kind of jump out and bite you, as we've seen a few times, maybe even more so when you're really trying to maximize the laps, when you're kind of learning this place, or just after you've learned it and you're really trying to maximize things, it gets the most dangerous. But the 76 able to tame it critically here with only a few minutes left. Looks like he's going to be able to pull this one out. Lynn Lotto, though, you know, now last time we looked, actually, he was about 3.5 seconds behind. Now he's only 1.4, Ron, so definitely the fire under Kalen Majkowicz now. He's got to get moving here.
Yeah, Majkowicz is going to have to try and get a move on. Even if he just keeps it smooth here, we aren't too far away from the fall of the checkered flag. So Majkowicz just needs to keep it clean and green to the end. And Max and Lotto, I don't think we'll be able to catch him up. The problem is he can catch up by 1.4 seconds, but will he be able to get a move done with only one or two opportunities? That's the real question. We take a look now at Adrian Lopez, and that right there was Jason Cotcher coming in like an Exocet missile, I believe, on the inside line. You know, finding the barrier here at Adelaide is not a mark of failure. Yeah, it was Danush Paborji here. You can see Paborji trying to go for the dive. Thankfully finds a runoff area. He
nice
moves
spin
himself there into the runoff area. Good little flex spin there.
Good job.
I was just going to say, hitting the wall at Adelaide is not a sign of failure. If anything, it's actually a sign of success. Not only have you found the limit, that doesn't mean that you're, you know, ending in tears, as that's Josh Corwin's race, ending in tears there in the number 37. But hitting the wall at Adelaide is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of success. Michael Schumacher won his first world championship hitting the wall here.
Yeah, absolutely. Way back in the day when they actually used to race here. And there's Max and Lotto locking it down, critically not spinning all the way around there. I think he's going to be able to hold on to P2 after that one. But in these final minutes here, people finding the wall, finding some spins. Not an easy track for sure. You really got to keep your eyes on the prize around here. Joshua Corwin not getting away with it in that corner that time. Pretty much identical incident to the first lap, except that one was a little bit harder, and it did definitely damage the car this time. So he's out there kind of limping it around actually at the moment. I think maybe he might have even brought it. Oh no, he's still up there in fourth place. So he's going to limp that car around, see if he can hold on to that position. But we are in the wee hours now. Looks like this will be our final lap, I believe. It's going to be really close, actually, isn't it, Ron? This might even be it.
Yeah, we'll be borderline as Majkowicz has his way onto that start-finish straight away.
Ooh, just made it.
There we go. So that is going to add one more lap. This could get rather spicy. Certainly for Majkowicz, it is not going to be the spiciest final lap in the world. Max Lotto with that sideways snap. That's going to catch him out. That may do it for him. Kenan Miller in all of this. Looks like he's going to finish on the podium. It has been a fantastic drive all night for him. Showing some good pace in qualifying, showing some good pace in the sprint race, and able to get a good result here on the feature if he can just hang on for the final 2/3 of this last lap. Looking throughout the pack, there's some good storylines of note. I think that one of the main things that we will touch on is the way the fates went for Stephen Case. 12th in the sprint, 13th in the sprint, 12th looks like it will be for him at the end of this feature race. That is a severe disappointment, but it's music to the ears of this man, Kayla Michowicz, who heading into the final 3 weeks of this Sim Racers Group F3 series is going to look to try and grab that championship. He may not be able to get both hands on until the checkered flag falls for the season finale, but with a result like this, he's already going to get his fingers on it. Kayla Michowicz going to win the race here, gets the double, wins the sprint, wins the feature. Max Lotto comes across the stripe in P2, and Kenan Miller will round out your podium there in third. Even his teammate Skylar Vicroy not being here is not going to hold back that Ken Milroy team. They are going to be super strong when it comes to that team's championship fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Great drive there from Kenan Miller tonight to get that podium position. Joshua Corwin as well. Great drive for him, losing some positions, but making it across the line, even with a bit of a damaged car there as well. So good job getting that one across the line and bringing her home there after a little bit of attrition. Jason Cotcher here just coming across the line now. Michelle Lynn, great drive to keep her into the top 10. Good stuff there for the Dull Dime Racer in the 215. Thomas Brashear, also a lot of attrition here tonight for Thomas. He was able to make it through as well. So all our finishers tonight, man, good job out there. This is not an easy track. You can see from those meatballs and all those cars out 3 laps and 4 laps down. This wasn't an easy one, Ron, and it never is around here.
It's always going to be a test, and for these drivers, that certainly was a test here for round number 8 of the Sim Racers Group F3 Championship. But the man who rises to acclaim is Kayla Michowicz. What a performance it was from him tonight. We talked about the success that he has had so far this season. A 4-time pole sitter. It's now Max Lotto on 2 in a row, looking for his 4th next time out at Portimao. As you can see, small
too close.
overshoot there.
Great
Yeah,
shot
a little bit
there.
too close for comfort, but yeah, it's a very fantastic. I'd love to see the other look here on iRacing, but Michowicz, 4-time pole sitter. You can now say that he is with 5 sprint race wins in a row, 6 so far this season, and with that feature race victory as well, that is now his 4th feature win. Man, it has been a fantastic run for Kayla Michowicz. Only has a few more weeks left to try and settle it. It'll be 4 rounds left when we leave this race. Portimao, Sandvort, Barber, and Monza. What a selection of tracks that we have to look forward to. This is going to be a real intriguing way to end off this season.
Yeah, absolutely. What an amazing season we've had here so far, and still a bunch left here too, with some great tracks we're headed to as well. Some beautiful looking race cars doing some really nice donuts there as well. Max Lotto and Kenan Miller on your screen right now, filling out the 2nd and 3rd spot on our grid tonight. And there's Kayla Michowicz again with his dominant season here in the Monster Energy 76, doing a great job, and some pretty nice donuts out there as well. But I think that's going to be it for the race tonight. We should probably start seeing who might come up to the booth here, and maybe we'll get to our results just before that.
Yeah, let's take a look at our race results, shall we? It was a very compelling night, one dominated once again by Kayla Michowicz. He gets a victory over Max Lotto, who puts on a brilliant drive in his own right to finish there in P2. Kenan Miller will round out your podium in 3rd. Josh, I wonder if we can cut to Jason Green there, Michelle Lynn. I want to know what sort of crashing shenanigans.
I think you're probably right.
Oh, there we go.
We'll roll it back here. I think
beautiful.
we missed something. Let me pull this out of the way quick. Let's have a quick peek at what shenanigans. Oh, it's going to be the T1, and he's going to send it. Oh, ball parked. So just in case anybody doesn't know, that is what happens when you basically jump out of the physics zone of iRacing. So it's sort of like reaching escape velocity, let's say. And he got completely ball parked there. And then on top of that, he almost made Ron choke on his on something there as well. So I'd say that's a success from Jason Green. Good one.
Yeah, don't worry, it was nothing. Emphysema, we're good. Let's take a look at this here.
Oh boy.
Dun, dun,
Yep.
dun,
And he's
dun,
gone.
beautiful. And just like that, the Martians
he's
take him, and then they placed him back. he was on the other side of the wall. Then you could see the lifeless PNGs that are the audience here on iRacing. Look at that. That is Michelle. Nowhere near as stylish as it was with Jason, but that is almost an impossible task to try and follow there. You know, folks, I've been doing this broadcasting stuff here on iRacing now since about March of 2023. I've done well over 1,200 broadcasts. Some would say probably too much. I have never. So you see something new every day. Kayla Michaelwitz, though, is your victor. Max Lotto ends up in P2. Kenna Miller, a fantastic podium, will end up rounding out your top 3. And then from there, you can see the likes of Josh Corwin finishing in P4. Jason Green wins our hearts with that jump there late. Will end up in P5. Adrian Lopez is in 6th. Danush Paborji comes across the stripe in 7th. Tyrone De Silva is in P8. Jason Cotcher in 9th. Michelle Lynn will round out your top 10. Thomas Brashear will be in P11. As
Not sure what just happened there. We are having some issues with our SDK software these days. I'm going to try to roll that back and see what happened, but it looks like our result just got wiped for some reason. I have no idea why, and they are gone. So we will go off of the other list there. I believe we have another, so let's do that.
Yeah, so I'll just say that from Michelle Lynn in P10, it was Thomas Brashear in 11th, Stephen Case in 12th. Kukaran Dillon ended up in P13 with Adam Duval, Varun Vali, Jose Navas Molina, and Diego Posada completing your field there. There you go. I love Brian Szynski saying, Ron says, I have never once a month. I've started to see some more bizarre things as time has rolled along. Maybe it's just down to the fact that I'm doing more of these broadcasts, more and more of these shows with less and less sleep. But you know, that's we'll wait for further investigation when it comes to that. But Josh, it doesn't look like anybody is joining us here to have a chat, so we'll stall for time here and. We'll give another shout out as well to Dylan Motorsports and Tire, of course, Kukaran Dillon, one of the drivers here in this championship. Sim Racers Group veteran, easy the man responsible for Dylan Motorsports and Tire. As a top-rated and award-winning service center, Dylan Motorsports knows that auto service isn't just about the present, it's about the future as well. From star certifications to simple maintenance, you'll be covered with some of the friendliest service in the Bay Area with a focus on customer satisfaction. Dylan Motorsports and Tire, serving San Jose, Santa Clara, Willow Glen, and beyond, just a stone's throw away from the Sim Racers Group HQ there in San Jose, California. Want to thank Dylan Motorsports and Tire and Kukaran Dillon for sponsoring this season of action. But Josh, here at Adelaide, what can we say about tonight?
Yeah, again, I think, you know, right from the get-go, right through the middle and right to the end, this place is just tough. It's not an easy place to drive around. It is not an easy prospect, a place you got to train a whole bunch at. And even when you do, those curbs can jump out and bite you, and those walls can snag wheels off your car very easily. And we saw a bunch of that there tonight. Some of our fastest drivers getting taken out by that first set of corners, and then some other attrition as well. So, you know, this place is always really fun. I really dig it. It's a really fun track. It's super fast and hustly, but man, you really got to watch your P's and Q's around here, or you can end up with a broken car. I think we saw some pretty good driving, and I think this was overall a success, and I really do hope we come back here and race again next season in the next cars. But I think that's probably it for the F3s around here, at least for the SRG crew, and I think they did a good job, man.
I think it was a very fun race. We got the opportunity to cover the F4s running here at this track last season, and we also saw some aerial acrobatics then when David Borden soared into the stratosphere way back then. That ended up
check that short out, I think.
Short here. Yeah, there we go. Perfect, perfect synchronization there with our plug there with the YouTube Shorts here on SMB. You know, speaking of some of the stuff here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, well, I'll let you folks know that the action does not stop here with with the Sim Racers Group F3 Championship. Far from it, in fact. This upcoming Sunday, we'll be able to bring you the latest race of the Ray Esports Summer Series. That's at the Charlotte Roval. And Josh, that's the MX5s this weekend, correct?
I believe so, yes. You know what? Let me double check that while you go through the rest, and I will check my notes here and get right back to you.
Alrighty, some investigative journalism here at the end of this
I love it. I
broadcast.
love it.
American Muscle Series will be at Portland. That'll be on Tuesday, August the 11th. We just saw the F4s run there about 24 hours ago. Speaking of the F4s,
MX5s,
they'll be at
correct.
Summit Point. Beautiful, MX5. See, I know some things from time to time. My singular brain cell named Gerald
So
does
many
occasionally
races.
form a thought of note.
Good job.
SRG F3 will be at Portimao on Wednesday, August the 12th. The Rickmatech GT3 Challenge will be at Sebring for the first of two endurance race formats there. 65-minute long races for that. We hope to see you all there. The Ray Esports Summer Series will be back at Oran Park. American Muscle Series will be back at Zolder. And then the SRG F4 Championship will be at Road America. A lot of other action coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Some good news to look ahead to for the 50th Weekend Warriors V Runoffs. News to come out in the following weeks as formats get revealed. We also have the return of the SKR Sim Racing Group. That'll be in September, along with the Grand Prix Tour Series. We covered some of their Porsche Cup racing just a couple of months ago here on the channel, and we'll be able to present you some more action of theirs here in the very near future. Gives you a good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. But after this broadcast here tonight for round number 8 of this season, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, and Josh Wilkie working the comms and the cams with me on tonight's show, I say thank you also very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.